Would you like to know a easy 3-step process to conquer your fear? If so, stick around. Hi, I'm Connie Jo Holmes with Be You to Be Full Hypnosis and Coaching, and I teach individuals how to confidently and courageously move from reacting to life to owning your life. And to me, when you can conquer your fears and not allow fear to drive you, but rather allow love to drive you, that is the way to learn how to own your life. You may have heard people talk in the past about everything in life is either rooted in fear or it's rooted in love. And if you really sit and pick that apart, and maybe people aren't consciously thinking about love, but they might be thinking about happiness and joy, finding peace in their life. Even though those words aren't love, those all can result in love. Those can lead towards love. It gives a loving feeling. With fear, if we might not even think we're in fear, but if we are operating from judgment, if we're operating from, anger or some kind of a heavy emotion, all of that is rooted in fear. So that's why people say everything in life either follows fear or it follows love. And it probably goes without saying that most people want, to be driven by love. So today, let's talk about these 3 easy steps on how to conquer your fear. And so the 3 easy steps really are to identify it, name it, and then conquer it. So how do we do that? First of all, it's really important to understand where fear is coming from, okay? I think it's important to know that when we do have fear, it is very contracting, it's paralyzing, and it just simply holds us back in life. And so to realize that that's something that we no longer want in our life, that right there is very, very huge. Why do people have fear? It's many different reasons. Sometimes people have fear because they are very inexperienced with the subject matter, this experience, different things like that. And I get that. The first time we do anything, we might be fearful, we might have some apprehension, something like that. That makes sense. I mean, it's we just haven't done it before, so we're not sure we're going to go about it the right way. Well, don't let that, though, hold you back. It's when you allow that unknown to hold you back that fear actually grows even deeper and deeper inside of you. Acknowledging, I've never done this before, but putting yourself in a beautiful circle around people that can help encourage you, coach you, guide you, that type of thing, that is the best way to go about it. And then also to know that, this is your first time doing this. You've had no prior experience to this before. And giving yourself grace that you are doing it for the first time. And knowing that after this first time, it's only going to get better and better from there on. And it's not until we actually experience that and live that we understand the truth behind it. And so that's the thing. If you've never experienced this means that fear has held you back to allow you to not have these new experiences. And if that's the case, you're really, really cheating yourself. So that's no good. Another reason why people might have some fear is because we are comparing ourselves to somebody else. You might enter a new job. So here's your day one. And you might look around and compare yourself to other colleagues, especially if you have a similar job to somebody else in your department. You might sit there and compare yourself to them. Well, that is so not fair to do. You may have heard people say in the past that we cannot compare our chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 14. And when we do that, it's actually a huge detriment to ourselves. We're not doing ourselves any favors. And so to remember that and be mindful of that is to not compare ourselves, especially in that very unfair position and unfair light. Another reason why people might feel fearful is because we're worried about what other people will think. Will other people judge us and that type of thing? Maybe they will. So what? Also, we need to remember several things with this. First of all, it's your life. So you have to live it for you, not for Susie Q over here who might judge you on something. Because it's not Susie Q who's going to die with those regrets. It's going to be you who die with those regrets. And so that is a way to remember it and to forget this judging, worrying about what somebody else is going to think. So one, think about it from a regret point. Two, you know what, we're actually going to be quite maybe disappointed to know that people aren't really thinking about us as much as what we think that they are. And so allowing that to drive you as well. And then also, frankly, you know what, this is not as an opportunity to give the double middle finger. Who cares what somebody else might be thinking about you? We need to remember that a lot of times they're having limited thinking. They're having feelings of lack. They've had negative experiences and they're putting that on us. And that's not fair at all. We're allowing somebody else's limited thinking limit us. And so that is a crying shame. So that might be another reason why somebody's fearful. So, and I know there's probably tons more, but I just wanted to at least touch on some of those. So, okay, we're fearful of something. So now what do we do? How do we conquer it? So I said it's 3 steps. It's identify it, it's name it, and then it's conquer it. So to me, we need to identify it. So if we are really fearful of public speaking, because I think I've read before that that's like the number one fear that people have. And I don't even know if that's true anymore. I've heard that so long ago. So anyways, but we're going to use public speaking. Somebody is fearful of public speaking. So we're aware of that. So we might have partially identified it. But I think what people don't really do is we don't sit here long enough and say, okay, I'm afraid to give this speech in front of people. Well, what is it exactly that you're fearful of? Because sometimes just saying, I'm fearful of public speaking, that's too broad and it's too big, it's too elusive. And so therefore people don't quite, it's almost too big to tackle then. Whereas if you can sit with it and say, what is it though about the public speaking that I'm scared of? So maybe when you sit with it long enough, you realize, you know what? I don't want to look foolish. Okay, that's a really great step. But foolish about what? What exactly is it about being foolish? Maybe you don't want to look silly or stupid. Maybe you don't know the content that well. What if somebody asks you a question or something like that? Well, now we're getting to something. We are fearful of public speaking because we don't want to look incompetent, I'll say. Okay, well, now this incompetency, now we have a smaller nugget that we can deal with. And so now with this smaller thing, we can now tackle that. Whereas the whole umbrella of public speaking might have been too big to tackle. So that's why we want to sit with things long enough to understand what's really at the root of it. So now, just using this as an example about incompetence, so right there we identified it. So it is public speaking, but not really. It's the feeling incompetent. So right there we have identified it. And, you know, maybe sometimes in the identifying, maybe you've already given it a name. Oh, it's the incompetence. But, you know, sometimes I like to give things a silly name, and really silly, that would make you laugh, because then it allows you to laugh at what you're fearful of. Okay, so maybe in this case, this is off the top of my head, but, you know, maybe this one you want to call it, you know, incompetent Aunt Edna. I don't know. That's kind of silly, but you know, but you might want to name it something, and it's actually kind of just goofy and weird or whatever. Or maybe you do name it after somebody who, you know, who is really not your favorite person in this world or something like that. But sometimes when you can name it, it helps it to, you know, either one, you can laugh at it and then you can see, oh my gosh, this is so silly. Let's throw this away. Or depending on what you name it, it could be something that, you know, like empowers you, like, oh, I'm going to overcome this. So there's many different reasons for naming it. So then now it's conquering it, because again, the identifying it, getting down to that root is the battle. And so once you've done that, you have already taken a massive step to conquering it. So then now how to really conquer it is, okay, so now the public speaking, it's actually about feeling incompetent. All right, Well, what's the topic I'm going to talk on? I'm going to talk about cats. So I am going to, well, first of all, you're already going to know the subject matter for you to even think about doing it. So we need to remember that too. But then, you know what, maybe you're going to do, a deeper dive on this very specific topic or something like that, just so that you are as well informed as possible. You're going to practice, you're going to rehearse, you're going to do these different things to, because if you think about that old fashioned balance, that old fashioned scale, whoop, here's your fear up here. Excuse me. Here's your fear, and here's you not doing something because you're going to feel incompetent. Well, once you start to fill this incompetent bucket with knowledge and practice and things like that, you start to tip the scales. Even if you bring it to neutral, is going to be fabulous, but you're really going to feel confident once you really, really know the subject matter and you can walk out on that stage with that full confidence. So that is one way to help you conquer it. And hand in hand with that too, what I like to remind people about a fear, because again, what are we getting to the root of it for? When we know it, we can actually educate ourselves around it. So, and I know I did a separate video just on this, but it's worth a repeat here. Myself, I used to be very afraid of spiders. I still don't like them. If one was coming down on my head right now, I would probably scream like a girl and step aside. So I still don't like them, but I used to be deathly afraid. Talk about paralyzing. I mean, if there was a spider in this room, I would leave this room and I wouldn't come back all day. And then when I did come back, my poor husband would have to come in with the flashlight and find this stupid thing for me. And it was really debilitating for me. And so it really got to be a point where it was stupid. And so what I ended up doing, I live in southern Wisconsin. So I educated myself on spiders. I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, there are 2 spiders here in southern Wisconsin that can really hurt me. And one is a brown recluse and one is a black widow. And I'm 54 years old, and knock on wood, my entire life, I don't think I've ever seen a brown recluse. So that thing, what they say is, because they hide themselves in places that humans really don't go. So what are the odds that I'm going to see a brown recluse? What are the odds of that? If I've lived 54 years and I have never seen one, it's probably pretty good that I'm not going to. I know I've seen a black widow one time, maybe I've seen it twice. And where I saw it was in a scary corner in a garage where a black widow would live. And so once you know these things, well, you're not going to go around these, We do have a really old wood pile. I'm kind of pointing to where it is here. And that's probably a place where a brown recluse would live. And so I'm not near that wood pile, and I'm not going to go digging through there or anything because I already know that about myself. But anyways, so right there, I educated myself on what are the odds of spiders that are going to kill me here in southern Wisconsin. And it's those 2. And living 54 years and having barely ever seen them, it's like, okay, the odds are pretty good. But then also even knowing for me where not to go, educating myself on where do these spiders live and making sure I steer clear of them. So now again, I still wouldn't appreciate seeing a spider right now, but I am to the point now where I can actually, with paper, big pieces of paper, but not a Post-it note, but with big pieces of paper, I can actually kind of get a spider and shoo it out and that type of thing. I never would have been able to do that before. And so that's just a personal example about me telling you about how to educate yourself around what it is you're fearful of. Because once you do that, because again, fear is very contracting and paralyzing. And so being contracting, it's like, oh, part of it is being closed off and closed-minded. But then getting curious enough to say, all right, I want to figure this out. And so by doing that, that expands you. And in that expansion, you can let that fear fall by the wayside. And then, so in closing, I want to say the last thing that I think is a huge benefit to help you get over fear, that is to incorporate wonder thinking. I've definitely done different videos on wonder thinking, but because I mentioned getting curious. So when we are curious, our mind automatically is expansive. Think about when you were a little kid, how curious little kids are. And then, they're always like wandering around and exploring what they can explore and that type of thing. Because when you're curious, you want to go find that answer. So a way to help ensure that you stay in that curious mode is to incorporate something called wonder thinking. I wonder how great it's going to feel giving this public speech. I wonder how great it is going to feel to go out on stage and give a really great presentation and allow this fear to be behind me once and for all. I wonder how many people are going to come up to me after my talk and tell me how much it was so helpful for them. Those are just some examples of wonder thinking. But when we wonder think, we're putting ourselves in the right frame of mind, but we're also, because we're wondering, we're now wanting to seek out and search that answer. And so when we're asking those good questions, I wonder how well my talk will be received. Well, we're going to ensure that we're doing everything to find the answer to that question. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. In conclusion, 3 ways to get over fear: identify it, name it, conquer it. Identifying is, yes, I might be fearful of public speaking, but sit with it. What is it about that fear that you're really fearful of? That right there, I think, is the magic pill for it. And then if you need to name it to be a little bit quirky and funny so that you can laugh that fear away, or you can use that name to, kind of empower you in some way, do that. And then with the conquering it, remembering to educate yourself around a topic, remembering where the fear is coming from, again, judgment, comparison, that type of thing, and just acknowledging it and saying, yeah, that's silly. So that's a big part of it. Developing a very creative mind and helping you to do that by getting curious with that wonder thinking. All right, so I hope that was helpful. If you do need any help in this space, I am a certified hypnotherapist, a certified life coach, and a health coach, and I do offer all of my prospective clients a free 30-minute consultation call. So if that is something that you need to help you identify what exactly it is about your fear and, more importantly, how to conquer it, reach out to me today. All right, thank you so much. Bye.